Namaste. Is Europe a partner, a competitor, or a systemic rival to China? What we find is that Europe, which runs on European values, all those values turn to jelly when they deal with China. Europe is comfortable with the lack of democracy in China, with the human rights violations there, the forced labor camps. And then again, Europe is not a singular entity. Different countries behave differently with China. For instance, Lithuania has a different stance than, say, Poland. And to discuss why Europe cannot agree on China, we have with us Laimonas Talat-Kelpša, who's the political director, Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Lithuania, and Małgorzata Bonikowska, President, Center for International Relations at Poland. So I'll just jump into the deep end with Lithuania. In 2021, you had a straight fight with China on setting up relationships with Taiwan. As a result, China got very angry and threatened certain trade sanctions, etc. Now, I studied that part, and Lithuanian trade with China is not very much. But you seem to be holding what Europe as a whole ought to do. What's the thought behind this stance?
Well, maybe my introductory point would be this was not a fight of Lithuania's choice. Lithuania's intention was not to make relationship with any country worse than we used to have. What Lithuania did in 2021, it just followed the track already beaten by so many European nations to open a trade office in Taiwan and ask the Taiwanese people to also have their representation in Lithuania with the purpose of expanding our commercial and trade relations. So this is not a unique case. This is not something exceptional. The new or previously unpresent circumstance was that since 2004, no new trade offices of Taiwan had appeared anywhere in the world on the map. And that was probably the source of disquiet with our Chinese partners. And that's why they insisted that this new step that Lithuania was taking should not be taken. And they exerted every power they had to stop us from this decision. And here already it had become a matter of principle. Is Lithuania a sovereign country enough to make decisions of its own? So that was a matter of principle for Lithuania, and it is not anything else. So in the end, we are in a situation as we are today, that our relations with China are not experiencing the best moment. That's true. On the other hand, it is also clear what this situation has taught us. It's not only de-risking, it's full decoupling with China actually happened. And it made Lithuanian economy stronger. It made Lithuanian political institutions more resilient. We have re-diversified our trade, which we had with China. Now it's going to other Asian markets, and we are doing fine.
And you did this in a period of 4 years.
Of 4 years.
So that a decoupling with China demands, say, about 4 to 5 years in order to disengage or restart.
It will probably depend on the size of your economy, on the level of the previous engagement with your partner. In our case, we've been in a situation that it was, and today we can say we are more or less okay. I mean, there's no insistent pressure for us to review the policy. We do have discussions with our Chinese partners whether that would be a window of opportunity, a possibility to normalize diplomatic representation between our countries. That is true.
Thank you. Małgorzata, you are on the other side. You are part of China's, Poland is part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. It's probably one of the closest countries to China in Europe. How do you see that geographically you are situated in a continent where China is seen to be a systemic rival, while you are engaging deeply and allowing China to enter your borders, your economy, your trade, and perhaps even your telecommunication? Huawei is inside Poland yet or not?
Well, yes, as far
Yeah.
as operations.
So
First of all, good morning and thank you for having me. Let me just add a few comments on what you are saying. First of all the comments about Europe failing are just definitely premature. We are reorganizing ourselves in a very strange world situation right now for us. Geopolitics and relations also with our key allies in NATO are crucial to us, especially with the United States. And this is definitely the key element of our approach. And I think Europe had actually for a long time a very united approach to China. China is a very important player, is a global player in the world, and we first of all acknowledge that. We respect the size of Chinese economy and scale of Chinese financial possibilities and investments. Of course, also the power the country got. And yes, since 2011, Poland signed a strategic partnership with China, which I think was very much followed from many other countries. It was this moment where Europe wanted to do a lot of business with China. And this led us into close ties, economic ties. Just to give you an example, last year, 2023, we have data. We have 50 billion euro trade with China as Poland only. And of course, China is a leading economic partner for the EU, and vice versa. So we had to take it into consideration. Poland is specifically having problems with China in economy because we have a huge deficit. Out of this 50 billion euro trade, 47 billion is what we buy from China. We definitely want to sell much more, so this reorientates our policy towards China. We want to do business with China, but on different principles. We want to be much more present on the Chinese market, and this is not an easy talk with the Chinese partners for us. So I think in this regard, taking into consideration Lithuanian position, which we absolutely understand, we have to just coordinate better the different approaches of different EU countries. You are absolutely right, we are not one single entity. It's 27 members of the European Union, and within these members I would say there are three groups. These countries who do a lot of business with China and treat China as one of the leading partners. In this group I would mention Germany, which is really a leading partner, not Poland. Poland I would put in the middle. We try to keep balance between all our trade partners and all our political partners as well. Don't forget, we are having very close tie-up with the United States. And because of the policy of the United States of very harsh decoupling from China, we had to take it into consideration. So this phase of being so close to the idea that China, or with China we should have more and more business, is over. Now we have the risking phase, which more or less means for all our countries, all Europe, to be careful with the Chinese investments, and Poland implements it in a very clear way, meaning we do a lot of business in, let's say, food sector and many other industries, but we are careful about technologies, for example, and strategic assets. And in this regard, as you mentioned, technology, yes, Huawei is operating in the Polish market. We can buy Huawei phones, but Huawei, we were very careful to let the company enter into strategic contracts. And this is very much the case now. And also there are countries like Lithuania who did much more. And my colleague explained why, but there are also strategic reasons to do that.
Okay, so how can the two of you, because you are standing on two ends, Lithuania has taken a hard stance, Poland, like Germany, is more deeply embedded into China than Lithuania. So how does Europe as a continent come together? Is it a fantasy to even expect that? Should the world engage with the 27 countries one by one, or should it engage through with the European Union?
Well, definitely I would not subscribe to the view that we should divide the European Union into single member states, because that approach is simply impractical. Why would you need 27 policies when you can have one? And this is the direction where European integration is taking all of us over the last 60, 70 years. That's the logic of it. And in trade matters, it is important to note that the European Union has a consistent, integrated policy. It's not member states which decide any big thing about how we expand our trade relations and tariffs in that matter with our international partners. Where those differences sometimes evolve, I mean, they're natural. Again, this is the effects of integration. We have to accommodate our views, our national interests, our national security interests. They must be taken into account. And I believe one of those lessons that the Lithuanian example has brought to the European table was the possibility of countries like China imposing very strong coercive action against any European economy. That was hardly conceivable in 2011. That was hardly conceivable in 2014. In 2014, Lithuania also was following the path which our Polish friend has here described. But in a way, when you have, and this is a very real situation that can happen to anyone, your country disappearing from all the national registers in China, then that means that whenever your cargo container arrives at the customs office, the customs officer cannot clear it on the reason that there is no such country as Lithuania. I mean, this is ridiculous. But this was happening back then in 2021, 2022. So this kind of coercion is not acceptable. And the European Union agrees on that this is not acceptable, and the European Union has developed and adopted an anti-coercion instrument. So now this is a policy of the European Union that next time, if such things happen, we will have a toolkit, a set of instruments at the European level that will adopt it against any such nation invoking this measure.
So let me broaden it a bit. So on the one side, there is this threat from China, and there are different reactions from various countries. On the other now, even the United States has changed its stance, particularly on security. So I see Europe as a continent which is the security of Europe, which was guaranteed by the US, is in danger unless Europe beefs up its own security by itself. The cheap gas that you are getting from Russia, and you still continue to get, is at a threat. And China, which is becoming the market as well as a destination for imports, is also in transition, so to speak. So how does Europe as a continent get together and address these three threats?
Let me just add to your question a couple of remarks. First of all, Europe as a continent is larger than the European Union. The European Union, we have 27 members, while Europe as a continent, it's 40 plus, depends how you count. The EU has a very coordinated policies, especially in economy. Like, for example, we have common trade policy, common custom policy, common competition policy, fisheries, means we act as one. We have a single market, means we should be treated like one country. And it's a powerful economy. We respond for 15% of the global GDP.
It's the second largest after United States. It's the second largest.
Exactly. It's the second largest economy in the world. So we are really a global power as far as that. We have some issues concerning competitiveness of our economy, innovations. We have to look at the United States, at China. We are working on that. We have a package of reforms right now. So we are very much concentrated on keeping this power and enlarging our trade possibilities. So in this regard, following your question, of course we are not happy with Donald Trump administration's approach to introduce tariffs. We don't want any trade wars, especially with our key ally, meaning the United States. But Europe will go and look around, and in this regard, India is a very promising partner, taking into consideration the scale of economy. But just coming back to the figures, as Poland is concerned, 50 billion trade with China, 5 billion trade with India. We have a long way to go with India to really be able to compare the economic ties with the two, even if we just look at Poland. So China is a very important global player for Europe. And in economy, China has to treat us as one. And in case of Lithuania, is a very good case, because whatever happens to the Lithuanian companies in China, it will not be a reaction on Lithuania. It will be a reaction of all the EU, meaning European Commission, because of this fact that we operate like one country. The same goes for Polish companies or any other companies of any other EU member state. We have some issues concerning foreign policy and security, because the European Union was not created for security, because we had NATO and we still have NATO. NATO is our leading pact for security and defense. So now we are facing challenge put by Russia. We have a war in Ukraine still going on. And of course, because of this, we had to cut off ties with Russia, which was not our choice, I stress, which was not our choice. It was an unexpected move from Russia, which led to a loss for Russia of European market as far as energy resources. We still buy, but at a very, very low level. We radically cut off the business with Russia, and of course we implemented sanctions. We have 16 packages of sanctions against Russia, which of course changes the dynamics. Then we have to look elsewhere, and the relations with China are very much following what's happening with Russia, because Russia put itself as an enemy to the West. So every single move China and Russia do together, for us it's a thinking point how to handle China as well. We are not willing to accept help given by China, officially or unofficially, towards Russia, because we would like to finish off the war with Russia on the terms and conditions of international community. This is the key policy towards us. And of course, one more element, which is Donald Trump administration, puts us even more into discussion how to look at the world while our key allies implement certain measures against the EU. So China, to conclude, remains an important, not only political player, but economic partner. And we have to balance the way we want to de-risk relations with China with also the real economic and political situation in the global world, where Europe wants to be a player.
Thank you. Laimonas, how is Europe now changing? You have these three threats. I have been speaking to a lot of European diplomats as well as think tank people. I hear words like reforms. I hear words like doing business easier, easing regulations on the economic side, increasing budgets for defense on the security side. China remains fuzzy as of now. I don't think China is so dominant in Europe today. Today, I think the main problem in EU, not Europe, in EU, is Russian war and United States withdrawal. So how is Europe, how is EU coping with this? What changes do you see are happening?
Well, Europe is growing up. That would be my summary point. And growing up includes both certain pains of growth, which our countries, members of EU, will have to undertake. One thing which is probably happening too slow, at least from looking from our corner of the European Union, is this understanding at every society level, or every member of a society level, that war is taking place in Europe now. And this is the war at the European Union's border. It affects us all, and then it demands action. The politician as such can do some things, and there are things which politicians cannot do without public support. I mean, the politician cannot just go to the parliament and get taxes raised. This is not happening that way. So you need a broader political support with your partners and rivals at the political stage, but also the support of a society that more money should be invested in defending your country. And then how that defense needs to be organized is another issue. How do you build a resilient society? I mean, it's a very important question. I'm just putting the points that are so relevant in the Lithuanian national debate at this particular moment. I mean, we have decided, we have come to terms that we need to spend more on defense, and more defense means we are already spending 4% of national GDP for defense matters is going to be 5% by the end of next year. Poland already is spending almost 5% and is going to increase further. But these are unique cases still in Europe in general. It is possible because our societies understand what is at stake. So that's one thing. Go and investing more in defense, investing more in your critical infrastructure, making it less vulnerable. Here, the Chinese aspect again comes into play. How you make your critical infrastructure more resilient. So it needs to depend more on European technology, and that's where you have to invest a little bit more. So I'm somehow, at least as a person of my generation, I'm more optimistic about what future is going to behold
so
in
it looks
years
like
to come.
More of work in progress, and over the next 46 months of Donald Trump being there, we're going to see a lot more changes in Europe as well as in European Union, EU. So thank you for being with us. Namaste, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Both, Daniel.